I've been a family law attorney for 25 years. And you've heard me say to these other speakers, I've seen a lot of pain. It breaks my heart. I'm not just mad at the system, I'm brokenhearted. You know, my family's okay. I have kids, I have grandkids. I get to spend the weekends with my grandchildren. But I know people personally who can't, who never get to see their grandchildren's faces. I look at my grandchildren and I cannot imagine a day that I couldn't call them on the phone or take them out for the weekend. This has got to stop. You know, I always write a speech every place I go, and I never read my speech because I feel the heartbeat. I feel you all here. I feel that pain. I feel the hurt. It's got to stop. There are so many things. All of this stuff that you all see, just as parents, and sometimes you think, some of these people, they call me all the time, or they're on Facebook with me all the time, and they're like, my attorney won't do this, my attorney won't do that, I can't get my attorney to do this happened in the courtroom. Let me tell you, I'm a damn good attorney. And let me tell you the kind of crap that happens to me. I'm just going to share with you sort of a broad spectrum of a case I just went through. I represented a mom whose 3-year-old child got accidentally injured in her care. No doubt that there was an injury, but you know what? She did everything she should have done. She went and she got that child medical treatment. She called the father, who was, she was not married to, called him up, had her meet him at the emergency room so they could tend to that child. Went and did follow-up treatment. The child was fine. DCS came, investigated. DCS even said it was unsubstantiated. They gave that child to the father, who she did not live with, and put her on supervised visitation. And they said, you know what, you're going to do this. You're going to go have a psych eval because we think you're a little crazy. We want you to do drug tests because you're probably using drugs too. We want your other 2 children to be forensically interviewed because you know what, if this happened, must be other things happening in that household too. She did it. She did it. Within 3 months' involvement of the agency, she had done all those things. She hadn't flunked a drugs test. She took her kids to be forensically interviewed. She did her psych eval. They unsubstantiated the abuse, and they wouldn't give her child back. They put her on supervised visitation. And that supervisor is on contract with DCS. Now, you know that, right? And so we finally, 6 months she goes through that. Miserable. We go through a 5-day trial. 80% of that 5-day trial is on the miserable relationship she has with that visitation supervisor, and how, you know, she's too close to her child. She won't hug her child at visitation. While I couldn't get it scheduled, and you know, she was mean to me on the phone. And you know, by the time they go through this for 4 days, that judge hates my client. They think she's the nastiest woman in the world. We get ready for closing arguments, and they're like, "Oh, Judge, I can't believe, she just can't get along with people." I said, "Judge, the other side has succeeded in their litigation strategy, which is for you to hate my client. But let's get down to why we're here. Number one, they claim this child was injured in the mother's care. You know what's absent in this court? Any medical proof. They didn't bring a medical record, bring in a doctor, no medical proof. And you know what, Judge? They say they think she's on drugs. They even stopped the freaking trial to make her go do a drug test in front of the trial over my objection. Clean. As you know what else is missing, Judge? Any dirty drug screens. Number 2. Number 3, you know what else is missing, Judge? They want to call my mama crazy, and they paid a professional to do an evaluation of her. She's not here either. You don't have an evaluation admitted into evidence. You don't have any professional testimony that my client's crazy. Number 4, she was ordered by a court to take her other 2 children to be forensically interviewed. She couldn't even transport them to the interview. She had to get a third party to do it. You don't have the forensic interviewer here. You don't have the videos here. I said, Judge, she did everything she was supposed to do within 3 months of this case being open. And they kept her on supervised visitation. And they did it so they could demonize her. Demonize her. Now, this poor mom, let me tell you something else. She had all the elements. She had been in DCS custody herself. They re-victimized her and brought up how she had been put in DCS custody herself, and it must have been because she was bad. She had all the elements. And I said, Judge, the burden of proof is always on the other side. They have to prove to you by clear and convincing evidence, by a firm conviction in your mind that these facts are all true and that they amount to child abuse or neglect. It's what we're dealing with. That's our world. And let me tell you something else. They also used the fact that when the DCS worker came to her house, she brought a police officer who's all armed up, got a flak jacket on. He comes up through the garage, knocking on her doors. He sees a shadow in the house, so he pulls his gun. She's scared to death. She won't let him in the house. She calls her attorney. Her attorney, well, not me, because I would not say this. Her attorney says, go ahead and let him in. We're in the trial, and the DCS attorney turns at her on the stand, and I'm sitting right beside this guy. And he goes, now, have you ever reflected on how much easier this would have gone had you just let the police officer come in your house? I'm like, what? Told the judge in closing argument, we have a Fourth Amendment right. We still got it. If there's not a search warrant or exigent circumstances, and they ain't coming in. There was no reason to send a police officer over there. That DCS worker had already met her. Though no child was at an imminent risk of harm. We are in a desperate situation. Desperate. I am so worried. And when I said to our legislator Peterson up here, Mr. Ronnie Peterson, I said, be a hero. All it takes is one state to grab this animal by the tail. Sometimes I envision this animal as, I'm pretty old. You can see my gray hair, and the horror movies of my childhood were a little bit different than they are today. And there's 3 horror movies that I think of when I deal with CPS. One of them is Tremors. Did you ever see Tremors? It's these giant worms. They're underground. You'd never know where they are. They just like, poof, they just like pop up out of the ground. You're just like rocking along, living your life in this giant worm. The other one is the birds. Right? The birds. It's like you're just like living a normal life and you go out and get in your car and ah! And the last one is the blob. Because it is an organism. It's an organism that involves all the stuff that we've heard up here today. It involves our universities. It involves our churches. It involves our state legislators, our Congress. All of these people, that's why to some of these people up here, I ask them, how do we get our arms around this whole thing? The whole thing. We've got to have somebody in each one of those areas stand up and be a hero. I cannot win this battle one case at a time. I cannot do it. I can't do it. I fight and fight and fight and fight and fight, and I'm radical too. and I dig my heels in. I'm in a huge battle right now with a small county in Tennessee. I've got a couple small counties I'm in battle with, but you know, they took a petition out on the mom, and I had called that DCS worker 3 times and left her a message. What do I need? What do you need to do with my mom? What do you need to do? This whole thing, I'm so glad Miss Cannon's had success with pre-litigation stuff, but I'm telling you, they're so nasty and evil, that doesn't even work sometimes. I had told this, I called and left messages, called her supervisor and left messages, never got a call back. And then I find out the Friday before they'd filled out a petition on her, and I was angry because they went to another county to get a judge to sign it. And finally, and I'm going to play this out for you a little bit, and there's a lot of legal stuff here I have to kind of explain. They'd gotten an out-of-county judge to sign an ex parte order. And I filed what's called a writ certiorari to the circuit court to deem that ex parte order illegal because the judge didn't have jurisdiction. And so we go and we have a hearing just on that, just on whether or not that order is illegal in a higher court, and the judge in that court calls juvenile court in to testify. And here's what I find out, which I never would have known. DCS worker filled out that petition, and her boss called the judge's office, the real judge's office, and said they were going to do a petition, wanted to know the judge's availability to do an ex parte order, which you'd think they'd call me, the client's attorney, to tell them they were doing that because they knew she had an attorney. No, no, no. The judge's secretary told the DCS supervisor that that judge probably wasn't going to hear it. She should go to the next county. Now, there's this thing in law we call jurisdiction. And jurisdiction means the authority to act on something. And so in juvenile courts or county courts, if you're the county judge in one county, you don't have jurisdiction to go down the street and work in the other county because the people elected you in your county. And so that's what they did. So Monday, the DCS worker, not the attorney, the DCS worker takes the petition to another county and gets the judge to sign it before it has even been filed with the court. Now, again, I'm an attorney. A piece of paper, I'm not going to rip somebody's paper up here, but a piece of paper is nothing but a piece of paper until it's filed in a courthouse. Then it's a court document. Then it's a pleading. Before that, it's just a piece of paper. If you're going to get a petition filed with the court, you file it with the court. And then the court takes it to the judge for the order to be signed. They hadn't even filed it with the court. And you know why they did that on purpose? Because I had also not only tried to call the DCS worker that day, I called the clerk 3 times to see if anything had been filed on my client. And they said, no, 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 no. So by the time they filed that petition with the court, before I even had a chance to contact a judge's office, they had the ex parte order. I was furious, flippin' furious. And then I asked them to fax it to me. They wouldn't do it. So I had to drive 2 hours away to the clerk's office just to pick up the petition. She hands it to me, and I go, who's that judge's? What judge signed that? She said, Judge Collins. I go, well, why? Where's the recusal order for Judge Cook? Because he's the judge with the jurisdiction. She goes, there is no recusal order. So we had a whole hearing in circuit court about whether or not that was legal. And the circuit court said, well, I don't think it was fundamentally illegal. That's the world we're living in. I went to law school to learn these rules, guys. And that's what we're dealing with. It is so fundamentally flawed. So fundamentally flawed. And people will not stand up to it, will not put their foot down because they get so caught in that system. So caught. It's so heartbreaking. It is so heartbreaking. I'll tell you just briefly another one. There's a dad. I represented him and the mom going through a case with DCS, and these two little boys and they actually were placed with a relative, thankfully, but I couldn't get the kids back. And during the course of this, the mom overdosed, killed herself. Finally, I got the older two boys back to the dad. Well, before mother had overdosed, she'd had another baby. That baby was about 6 months old, and they didn't rush out and take it. It was very odd. I really thought they were going to. But I got the older children back with Dad, had them stable, getting things organized. I get a frantic call from Dad's house one day. His sister calls me. She goes, DCS is at the door. They want to see the baby. I said, put him on the phone. So I asked him, and I asked the DCS worker, I said, what is it? What's going on? She goes, well, we got a referral, and we have to investigate, blah, 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 blah. Of course I do. And I said, she goes, there's a drug exposure. That's their thing. I said, well, there's an adult in the home. That's okay. I says, I'm okay in this situation having them sign an independent protective agreement, which I don't like to do, those voluntary agreements, but I couldn't, I knew that in this case I had to do something. So I said, just have them file an IPA that they'll have this other adult there stay in the home with them. They agreed to do that. This was 4 o'clock in the afternoon, 3 o'clock in the afternoon maybe. I even got, I actually have a couple DCS attorneys on my cell phone. I got a call or a text or something from a DCS attorney, and I was like, we'll go ahead and do the IPA. By 6 o'clock, no, it was the next morning at 10 or something. I don't know. I was in court. I'm in court almost every day or doing something. I get a email, not even a text. Now my phone gets my text messages, but my work email does not go to my phone. I've got to do that at the office. They sent an email to my office. I was not there. I was in court, and it said, we're going to go ahead and file a petition. Thank you. Really? Really? And took the baby. We'll never get her back. That's just the truth. She's a beautiful little blonde-headed 18-month-old baby by now. They'll never see her again. Breaks my heart. I don't know what to do. These children are being rehomed. I call it generational genocide. We are destroying generational integrity. When I go out and I talk to people who don't know anything about this, some of the issues I brought up with people that have been up here today, I talk about the adoption bonus, because that adoption bonus money is a crime against humanity, to put a price tag on a child's head. And if nobody knows anything about CPS, this is one thing I tell them. I said, did you know that every time the state takes a child and put it in foster care and adopts it out, the state gets a bonus check? And they're like, what? I go, yeah. Now let me tell you more, because I can get their attention with that. Y'all have got to learn how to be conversant in this. You've got to learn how to tell this story. And he said something up here today, Mr. Peterson again. I got some hope in him. I'm going to be calling him up. He said, you got to call us and let us know, right? He said that. Did y'all hear that? He said, you got to call us and let us know. Let me tell you why that's so important. In our Family Forward Project on Facebook, we have 12,000 members. I am always telling those members, do something every day. Do something every day. Write a letter, make a phone call, send an email, do something every day. All these people come back, well, I've called my congressman and nobody's called me back. Let's see, you call a state representative and see if you get any reaction from them, blah, 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 blah. He said it. Call us. Let us know. President Trump brought back bodies from Korean War or in North Korea. And we've had 10 presidents since that Korean War. Nobody brought those bodies back. And you know what President Trump said? He said because when he was out campaigning, people came up to him and asked him to do it. People. This is your government. They are your people. They work for you. Do something every day.